Praise, all glory, all honor, all praise, all glory goes to Yah Most High, the fountain of living waters, the maker, the owner, the creator, the possessor of all things and everything. Hallelujah.
Hallelujah.
Shalom, shalom, family. For all those celebrating Yom Teruah, it is the first day of the seventh month, according to the words of the Creator, Exodus chapter 12, verse 2, and Deuteronomy chapter 16, 1. We're going to go into this. This is part 2 of our Yom Teruah service. And this is part 2 of our... Got it. Yes. And it's being recorded, so it's not so laborious, tomorrow. And the traditions of our forefathers, according to Nehemiah, the 8th chapter, Ezra, on Yom Teruah, he read the Torah from first light until noon. So this should be our 9 o'clock to 12 service, or 9:30 to 12 o'clock service, carrying on. And the reason for this lesson is going to be titled The Everyday Life of Israel. What we're going to be discussing and going over in this lesson is to catch everyone up to speed on what the everyday life of an Israelite was, and how it would have went in a setup of the Israelite government, judge system, who were the teachers, the army. And we want to lay all these things out for you so you can have all the information to make sound decisions when it comes to understanding your history, because we are in a war on misinformation. And the only way to combat that is to understand and know what you're talking about at all times. Share the screen for me to slide. You're trying to brighten this up.
Okay.
There we go. Now I can see. Okay. How ancient Israel works. It's going to be in depth but brief. This is Feast of the Trumpets of the Blowing, not Feast or the Day of the Trumpets of the Blowing. So let's begin. You didn't get a full horn up the second time. Okay. The structure of ancient Israel, so we can understand the layout of Israel. Israel had a diverse structure. Wasn't formatted like the other nations that was around them. Israelites had the Levites, who were ordained, and the only tribe ordained, according to the Torah itself, to be the teachers of the Torah. The elders were the princes, and they helped judge disputes, which we'll cover. The age of military, and when you went into the army, a military service. The kings and the prophets. There was no democratic courts, and it was based on divine judgment. And the Urim and the Thurim is what we'll be covering. How the temple worked. Originally, in ancient Israel, we had a tabernacle, a mobile tabernacle in the wilderness, which was this right here. So in a time of the wilderness, we would go to the tabernacle or the Mishkan, and we would give our sacrifices. The Levites would carry it, kill it, put it upon the altar, and sacrifice everything. When you brought a sin offering, later on, when we got out of the wilderness, you would have to lay your hands upon the animal that's about to be slain and slay it, and then give it to the Levites. You would bring your offering to the Levites, whether it's a free will offering, a guilt offering, a sin offering, which was things that were not done on purpose. You can only make atonement for sins that wasn't done on purpose. Yom Kippur is a day where you get atonement for all of your sins. But on a day-to-day basis, if you made a mistake, if you ate something that wasn't unclean, that was unclean and you didn't know, if you broke a commandment and it was brought to your attention, your responsibility was to bring your offering before the Creator, which was represented by the Mishkan, to the Levites. You would tell them what the sin was you brought the sin offering for. They would inspect the animal to see if it was valid, to see if it could be given up for sin. It had to be an animal of the first year without blemish, and you would give that to the Creator. You would slay the animal, and you were supposed to watch an animal's blood leave it, which was the life, and it died for your sins and your mistakes. Later on, when we went from this setup in the wilderness to the time of King Solomon, right? Hold on. When we got to Solomon's temple, you see it's the same setup as this Mishkan, but a little bit more. It's a little bit more intricate. You bring your animal, they slay it, they take it, put it on, they clean it, gut it, take out the inward parts, roast it on, especially your peace offering and things like that. You're roasted on the altar, and the Levites would have what wasn't given to God. There were certain portions that were given to God. There were certain portions that was ordained for the Levites to eat. And they ate off that, plus the daily sacrifices. There was a daily sacrifice that happened in the morning, and there was a daily sacrifice that happened in the evening. Let's go there. Let's show that. Read this right here.
The book of Numbers, chapter 28, verse 1. Hallelujah.
Hallelujah.
And the Lord spoke unto Moses, saying, Command the children of Israel, saying unto them, My food which is presented unto me for offerings made by fire, of a sweet savor unto me, shall ye observe to offer unto me in its due season. And thou shalt say unto them, This is the offering made by fire, which ye shall bring unto the Lord. He lambs of the first year without blemish, 2 day by day, for continual burnt offering.
So this is what was brought up for continued burnt offering. What happened?
The one lamb shalt thou offer in the morning, and the other lamb shalt thou offer at dusk.
So we had an offering in the morning, and we had an offering that we gave at dusk, right?
And the 10th part of an ephah of fine flour for a meal offering, mingled with the 4th part of a hin of beaten oil. So
no matter what, every day there was a sacrifice going forth. I just want to see what else I can extract from this. What up? Come on.
And the other lamb shalt thou present at dusk as the meal offering of the morning.
Hold on, let me see where's the first one at. Okay, keep going.
As a meal offering of the morning, and as a drink offering thereof, thou shalt present it, an offering by fire of a sweet savor unto the Lord.
Okay.
And on the seventh day, 2 he lambs of the first year without blemish, and 2/10 parts of an ephah of flying flour for a meal, mingled with oil, as a drink offering thereof. This is the burnt offering of every Sabbath, besides the continual burnt offering and the drink offering thereof.
So a burnt offering was something that was completely consumed. You weren't able to eat that. Come on.
And in your new moons ye shall present a burnt offering unto the Lord, 2 young bullocks and 1 ram, 7 he lambs of the first year without blemish, and 3/10 part of an ephah of fine flour for a meal offering, mingled with oil for each bullock.
Stop. So every Sabbath there was an offering going. Every day there was an offering going. It expanded the command when there was a new moon or a new month, because the word Yerdak isn't there. It says Uvarashon Hodarashim in the first of your months. So at the beginning of every month, right? Or they put moon here, but the word is not actually moon. It could be translated as month, but I'm not gonna have that debate right now. You would have to bring an offering of 2 young bullocks, 1 ram, and 7 he lambs the first year without blemish. So this is what you offered up to God, all on the first of your month, right? And you would take, let's go to the book of Leviticus, and let's see what you would do for your personal sins that you committed if you brought a sacrifice, so we can understand how the sacrifice system works. What does this say?
In the Lord, we're in the book of Leviticus, chapter 4, verse 1. Hallelujah.
Hallelujah.
And the Lord spoke unto Moses, saying, speaking to the children of Israel, saying, if anyone shall sin through error, meaning you made a mistake, it wasn't done on purpose, what happens? In any of the things which the Lord hath commanded not to be done, and shall do any of them, if the anointed priest shall sin as to bring guilt on the people, then let him offer for his sin, which he hath sinned, a young bullock without blemish.
So the priest brings a young bullock, right? Okay. What happens if the congregation sins?
And if the whole congregation of Israel shall err, the thing being hid from the eyes of the assembly, and do any of the things which the Lord hath commanded not to be done, and are guilty.
What happens?
When the sin wherein they have sinned is known, then the assembly shall offer a young bullock for a sin offering.
Okay, so that's the congregation. Now let's try to get the one-on-one. This is if the king sins. What happens if the king sins?
When a ruler sinneth and doeth through error any of all the things which the Lord his God commanded not to be done, and is guilty, if his sin wherein he hath sinned be known to him, he shall bring his offering, a goat, a male without blemish.
So he brings a goat, a male without blemish, right? Now this would be for you. So if you did a sin, you're under the common people. If you did a sin, this is how you would atone for the sin that you did by mistake. You would go to where the Levites are, right? Because everyone's not making a trip to Jerusalem, right? Because it's the it's Jerusalem. And let's get into this. Come on.
And if any one of the common people shall sin through error, in doing any of the things which the Lord hath commanded not to be done, and be guilty, if his sin, or he have sinned, be known to him, that he shall bring for his offering a goat, a female without blemish.
So he brings a goat. Now look at the difference. The congregation brings a bullock, the high priest brings a bullock, the king brings a goat, and what does the common man bring? Read that again.
That he shall bring.
So he brings a female goat. So the king brings a male goat, he brings a female goat. Keep going.
For his sin which he hath sinned, and he shall lay his hand upon the head of his sin offering.
So you would lay your hand upon the head of your sin offering, and what was the next step?
And kill the sin offering in the place
and
of
you
offering.
Would kill the sin offering in the place of the burnt offering. So you will put your hands on it, which is symbolic of you transferring your sin onto that animal. You would take your knife, and you would slice the animal's throat. Then the priest would come, drain the blood out, dress it, discard the parts that's not going to go on the altar, the inward parts, the guts, the rectum, all of those things, the hooves, all that gets discarded. And the rest that's fit for the altar, right, goes on this altar here, and it just burns. Come on.
And the priest shall take of the blood thereof with his finger, and put it upon the horns of the altar of burnt offering. And all the remaining blood thereof shall he pour out at the base of the altar.
So he would take the sin. The priest would take the blood, right? And he would put it on the horns of the altar of the burnt offering. And what would he do with the blood?
And put it upon the horns of the altar of burnt offering, and all the remaining blood thereof shall he pour out at the base of the altar. And all the fat thereof shall he take away, as the fat is taken away from off the sacrifice of peace offerings. And the priest shall make it smoke upon the altar of a sweet savor unto the Lord. And the priest shall make atonement for him, and he shall be forgiven.
So he would make that smoke on the altar, right? Wait, what does it say? And what?
And all the fat thereof shall he take away, as the fat is taken away from off the sacrifice of peace offerings. And the priest shall make it smoke upon the altar for a sweet savor unto the Lord. And the priest shall make atonement for him, and he shall be forgiven.
So all the fat, remember, God had given us a commandment. I need you to understand this as we go into Yom Kippur. God says the fat is not supposed to be eaten, and the blood is not supposed to be eaten. Those are things you have to discard. Some would say, what happens with marbling? When we roast meat over a fire, right? If you roast the meat over a fire and you cook it long enough, you'll melt the fat out of it. And then you'll be left with the meat product. I want to give you an example of what happened when the priest didn't let the meat fully cook, because it's a way that we cook the meat. The priest had to cook the meat. Now, this is what an everyday thing would be for an Israelite. So you would get on your ass, not the curse word. You would make your trek to Jerusalem and bring your offering. The trip alone should teach you not to continuously make mistakes. Well, let's look at some practices of wicked priests that didn't cook the meat properly. Wait. I'm in the wrong Samuel. And then we're going to get more into the government, but I believe that knowledge is power. And we have to understand the day-to-day workings of our country so we could understand how it actually works. So let's look at this right here. I'm back in Macron. I did not want to go there. There are some things that we're going to have to establish too before we get too deep in the game. I want you to understand something. Something about this site. They don't like to load, but we're going to make it happen anyway. These tribes are completely different. None of these tribes were lockstep, how you may believe it to be. Judah and a Reubenite might never talk to each other unless it's time that they had to come to Jerusalem. A Gadite and a Naphthalite, they're on the other side of the country. They may really never have no dealings with each other. There wasn't, unless you met your brother when you were in the army at 20 years old or at the time of going to Jerusalem. And when you were in the army reserve troop, you might not ever meet most of the people from these other tribes. So you have to get an understanding that tribalism is true. Just like a Harlem guy doesn't think great about people from Brooklyn, and Bronx and Queens guys don't get along, and Brooklyn and Queens may get along better, and Harlem and the Bronx may have their connections because of their proximity, and Staten Island is really not tied into anyone. It's the same concept in Israel. Israel was not a monolith. We were not one family. We didn't even speak the same Hebrew. And I'm going to get to that too. But let's get to this priest. Let's understand the priest. We're closing out the thought on how you were supposed to eat meat, right? So in 2 Samuel chapter 2, we're going to go to verse 12. 1 Samuel 2, verse 12, right? Now let's go here. Come on.
Now the sons of Eli were base men. They knew not the Lord.
Okay.
And the custom of the priest with the people was that when any man offered sacrifice, the priest's servant came when the flesh was in seething, with a flesh hook of 3 teeth in his hand.
So they took a flesh hook of 3 teeth in their hand. Same thing like a barbecue pick. The same barbecue fork you see then they had back then. And what happened?
He stuck it into the pan, or kettle, or cauldron, or pot. All that the flesh hook brought up, the priest took therewith. So they did unto all the Israelites that came to Shiloh.
So they would take, you will put your sacrifice on the altar in your pot, your pan, whatever they cooked it in, whatever they prepared it, right? They would send the servant with the flesh hook, and whatever came up, they said, that's my portion. Okay, come on.
Yeah, before the fat was made to smoke.
So this shows you you're not supposed to eat fat. See, and I'm going to go softer on, not soft like not criticize, but I'm not going to do it from a demonstrative place because I'm not here to offend any brother. I'm here for the lost sheep of the house of Israel that want to learn about Israelite culture. I am a rabbi. I am a halakhic, orthodox, rabbinic Jew on paper. I chose to move away from halakhic, rabbinic Judaism and go more into only what the Torah says, because as becoming a rabbi and being a halakhic Jew, I understood that the sages were misleading the Jewish people. The sages were not Israelites. The sages were converts to Israelites, the major players. And they had a lot of harmful doctrine to the children of Israel. Me being a Levite from the line of Zadok, I understand Ezekiel 44 when it says, I can't say Zadok, I know I'm Levi from the Kohanes. The sons of Zadok that kept my charge when all Israel went astray. So I understand that Israel, there was a prophecy that all of Israel will go astray, and only the Levites, that Zadok's son, will be doing the right thing. And I'm pushing my people into that path right there, the Zadokite way. So in rabbinic Judaism, there's some fat that's good, there's some fat that's not good. I think it's halev, and I forgot the other, techumen, right? So they'll say, oh, this is the fat that's around the organs. God said, don't eat the fat. That means at all, right? If you cook any meat long enough, the fat will no longer be a part of the meat. Now, we don't need an oral tradition because the Tanakh provides enough context to show you how things were done. If you can't understand how to cook meat, if you have a problem with your understanding, cook it till it's jerky. If you can't get what enough inference from just reading the text, make it jerky then. Char it, and then you'll start figuring out when to cook it before it's not edible and when to cook it long enough to fulfill the commandment of God to no longer have the fat be a part of it. Now, this verse is very key because it says, what did the priest do that was wrong? Yea, before the fat was made to smoke, meaning there's a process of cooking meat with fat, even marbleized in it, that you can burn the fat out of the meat. Right? It says, before the fat was made to smoke, the priest's servant came and said to the man that sacrificed, give flesh to roast for the priest, for he will not have sodden flesh, but raw. So medium well, a medium rare is not good. Let's show you how your meat should be cooked. They didn't want it when it was here. They didn't even want it when it was here. They wanted it when it was just hitting the pan with a nice little sear. This is the type of meat that they wanted. They didn't want it like this. They wanted it raw. They wanted it raw. This is not how we're supposed to have basar. You have to cook the fat out the meat. God said, let's get to that commandment. Can I get the charger, please?
So, right there.
This is not the charger. While I plug this in, find a verse that speaks on don't eat the fat with the meat. Okay. Opening the window. We'll just plug this in, baby. Not for a dull moment. 1 second, family. Let me just fix this computer and we can continue. Okay. You have it? Let's go. Let's show you why that was seen as a sin. And we're going to get back to the day-to-day of Israel. Look, this is Leviticus chapter 3, verse 17. What does it say?
It shall be a perpetual statute throughout your generation.
What does it say? The priest what?
and the priest shall make them smoke upon the altar. It is the offering of the Lord. It is the food of the offering by fire for a sweet savor. All the fat is the Lord's.
All the fat belongs to who?
The Lord.
All the fat, not some of the fat. Not the fat that you deem okay. All of the fat of basar belongs to God. What happened here?
It shall be a perpetual statute throughout your generations in all your dwellings, that ye shall eat neither fat nor blood.
So it's not sexy to have your basar cooked through. But this has too much fat content, right? Where you can't have it. Because the fat belongs to God. That's the ancient Israelite way. The reason we know how this is the ancient Israelite way, right, My chair is breaking down on me, but I'm going to try to hold it together. If a man had said unto them, let the fat be made smoke first. So they says, burn off the fat first. Listen to what's happening here, family. The Israelites were telling the priest servants, burn the fat out of the meat first, right? First, and then take as much as your soul desireth. You can have as much meat as you want. Just burn the fat out of the meat. So for those who say, oh, there's always fat in the meat, if you cook it long enough, you can get the fat out the meat. This is our custom here. It says, then he would say, nay, but thou shalt give it to me now. And if not, I will take it by force. So when Israelites came to bring a sacrifice here, and a brother was watching the sacrifice being cooked, they would come with the flesh hook and the fork, the 3-pronged fork, take it and say, I'm wanting now. And he says, yo, the Torah says, what does the Torah say? What does the Torah say?
It shall be a perpetual statute throughout your generations in all your dwellings. Ye shall eat neither fat nor blood.
And what does it say here? All the what?
All the fat is the Lord's.
All the fat belongs to God. What did the priests that were wicked at the time said? No, we want it now. And what happened? And what did God consider that? Let's go back here. What does it say?
And the sin of the young men was very great before the Lord, for the men dealt contemptuously with the offering of the Lord.
So this shows you we don't eat fat. See, this isn't me who makes these things up. And the reason why I had to detach from Judaism is because rabbinic Judaism. Now I'm into biblical Judaism, what the Bible says, Israelitism. Because you can clearly see how God wanted things to be if you read enough of the Tanakh. So let's get back here. And what does it say?
And the priest shall take of the blood thereof with his finger, and put it upon the horns of the altar of burnt offering. And all the remaining blood thereof shall he pour out at the base of the altar. Okay.
So he would pour it out at the base of the altar, which is here. The blood gets poured out here. And first blood is put on the horn of the altar, and then the rest is poured out at the base, at the bottom. He cooks the fat off. If it's a peace offering, he cooks the fat off, and you can eat it with God. If it's a peace or free will offering, if it's a sin offering, it just burns. And the priest had his portion with that too. So let's go. Come on.
And if he bring a lamb as his offering for a sin offering, he shall bring it a female without blemish.
So you can bring a female goat without blemish, right? What was the first one? You can bring a female goat without blemish as a commoner. If you can't find the goat, you can bring a female lamb without blemish. What does it say?
And he shall lay his hand upon the head of the sin offering and kill it for a sin offering in the place where they kill the burnt offering. And the priest shall take of the blood of the sin offering with his finger and put it upon the horn of the altar of burnt offering. And the remaining blood thereof shall he pour out at the base of the altar.
Same protocol, verse 35.
And all the fat thereof shall he take away.
So all the fat he's shaving off. Let me show you something. Hold on. All of this would have to go. Some say this is membrane. Either way, you have to cook it until it's just the basar. Right? And most of the meat that the priest ate was the shoulder. So that means your oxtail. That's not kosher according to the Torah. Why? Because oxtail is mainly fat. Trying to get a real fatty animal. I can't really find it. That means you have to watch out going to the halal guy that gives you food, because you don't know how he cooks his meat. You don't know the fat content if he discarded his meat. Even Yehudi, when I go buy steak, they say, you want me to take the fat off? Because they understand, this is what you gonna do, cook it forever? You could just take the fat off and you don't got to do all that. So it says, what? And all the fat he shall take away, what?
As the fat of the lamb is taken away from the sacrifice of peace offerings, and the priest shall make them smoke on the altar upon the offerings of the Lord made by fire. And the priest shall make atonement for him as touching his sin that he hath sinned, and he shall be forgiven.
And that's how you get forgiven. Wait, let's see if it's more. Come on.
And if anyone sin, in that he heareth the voice of adjuration, he being a witness, whether he hath seen or known, if he do not utter it, he
Let's
shall
go
be
here. Let's go here. Go to verse 2.
Or if one touch any unclean thing, whether it be the carcass of an unclean beast, or the carcass of unclean cattle, or the carcass of any unclean swarming thing, and be guilty, it being hidden from him that he is unclean. Or if he touch the uncleanliness of man, whatsoever his uncleanness be, or if he is unclean, and it be hid from him, and when he knoweth of it, be guilty. Or if anyone swear clearly with his lips to do evil, or to do good.
So if you say, I swear to God, and follow blah, 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 and you don't remember that, man, I really made an oath, and you don't do it. I don't care if you say, man, I swear to God, I'm a slap, blow, so and so and so. Once you say it, it's an oath. If you don't do it, which you don't have to, but you're guilty of breaking that oath or that vow, what happens?
Or if anyone swear clearly with his lips to do evil or to do good, whatsoever it be that a man shall utter clearly with an oath, and it be hid from him, and when he knoweth of it, be guilty in one of these things, and it shall be when he shall be guilty in one of these things, then he shall confess that wherein he hath sinned. He shall bring his forfeit unto the Lord for his sin which he hath sinned, a female from the flock, a lamb or goat for a sin offering, and the priest shall make atonement for him as concerning his sin.
So it was accidental. Okay, come on. And this is what happens for those who don't know about the sacrificial system. That's why we're going down this road. So if you didn't have a goat, a lamb, or a chicken, these are the alternatives of what you can do to bring for a sin offering. Come on. So you would go, remember, you go before the priest, and this is what you would do. Come on.
And if his means suffice not for a lamb, then he shall bring his forfeit for that wherein he hath sinned, 2 turtle doves.
So 2 turtle doves, like doves, okay.
Or 2 young pigeons.
Or 2 pigeons.
Unto the Lord, one for a sin offering, and the other for a burnt offering.
Okay. So the burnt offering is completely consumed. My apologies. Come on.
Then he shall bring unto them the priest, who shall offer that which is for the sin offering first, and pitch off its head close by its neck, but shall not divide it asunder. And he shall sprinkle of the blood of the sin offering upon the side of the altar, and the rest of the blood shall be drained out at the base of the altar. It is a sin offering. And he shall prepare the second for a burnt offering, according to the ordinance. And the priest shall make atonement for him as concerning his sin which he hath sinned, and he shall be forgiven.
So, if he doesn't have, they sprinkle the blood of the sin offering upon the altar, and the rest of the blood shall be drained out at the base of the altar, right? I'm sorry, let me start here. He shall bring it unto the priest. He shall offer that for a sin offering and pinch off his head close by his neck, but shall not divide it sunder. So you slaughter the animal, but you don't rip it apart. It says, and he shall prepare the second for a burnt offering according to the ordinance of the priest, and make atonement concerning his sin that he hath sinned, and he shall be forgiven. So that's if he has money for a pigeon, but not a goat. If he doesn't have money for a pigeon or a turtle dove, what shall he bring?
But if its means suffice not for 2 turtle doves or 2 young pigeons, then he shall bring his offering for that wedding where he hath sinned, the 10th part of an ephah of flying fowl.
So then he just brings flour. So the concept of you need blood to atone for sin is not correct. Okay.
He shall put no oil upon it, neither shall he put any frankincense thereon, for it is a sin offering. And he shall bring it to the priest, and the priest shall take his handful of it as the memorial part thereof, and make it smoke on the altar, upon the offering of the Lord made by fire. It is a sin offering. And the priest shall make atonement for him as touching his sin, that he have sinned in any of these things, and he shall be forgiven. And the remnant shall be the priest as a meal offering.
So and this is basically, let me see how much this is. We might as well go through the rest of this. Let's go through the rest of this so they can get everything apart, so they can understand every element of the priesthood and how the sacrificial system worked. Okay. Let's close out this, and then we're going to move on to the governmental and the army and the priesthood and everything else.
He shall bring it to the priest, and the priest shall take his handful of it as a memorial part thereof, and make it smoke.
Okay, wait.
And the Lord spoke unto Moses, saying, if anyone commit a trespass or sin through error.
Remember, only things, you can only get atonement for things not done on purpose, right? When you did something on purpose, that's what Yom Kippur is for, the Day of Atonement. So when you didn't personally, if I'm not mistaken, matter of fact, I'll hold that. When Yom Kippur came, that's how you got atonement for the sins that you have done presumptuously, right? But if you did something by mistake, this is what the sacrificial system was for. Come on.
If anyone commit a trespass and sin through error in the holy things of the Lord, he shall bring his forfeit unto the Lord, a ram without blemish of the flock, according to the valuation in silver by shekels, after the shekel of the sanctuary, for a guilt offering. And he shall make restitution for that which he hath done amiss in the holy thing, and shall add the 5th part thereto, and give it unto the priest. And the priest shall make atonement for him with the ram of the guilt offering, and he shall be forgiven. And if anyone sin, and to do any things which the Lord hath commanded not to be done, though he knew it not, yet he is guilty, and shall bear his iniquity.
So when he bears his iniquity, meaning he figures out that he wasn't supposed to do that. So if you were a person that was eating fat, you would have to bring this offering if we were back in the land. Come on.
He shall bring a ram without blemish out of the flock, according to thy evaluation, for a guilt offering unto the priest. And the priest shall make atonement for him concerning the error which he committed, though he knew it not, and he shall be forgiven.
Because it was done by mistake. Come on.
It is a guilt offering. He is certainly guilty before the Lord.
Okay.
And the Lord spoke unto Moses, saying, if anyone sin and commit a trespass against the Lord.
A trespass, I believe, should be a womb. Let me see if they use that. Not fresh keyed. No, chata. They just put regular sin here. No, wait, that's just sin. Let me see. No. Adonai wa the kahosh. Adamor the thought. Or the BT showed them out of the yard. Like, yeah. No. Okay, come on.
If anyone sin and commit a trespass against the Lord, and deal falsely with his neighbor in a matter of deposit or of pledge,
deposit or pledge, or robbery, or have oppressed his neighbor, or have found that was lost, and dealt falsely therein, and swear to a lie, in any of these things that man doeth sinneth therein. Then it shall be, if he have sinned, is guilty, and he shall restore that which he took by robbery of the thing of which he have gotten by oppression, or the deposit in which he deposited with him, or the lost thing which be found, or anything about that which was sworn falsely. He shall even restore it in full, and shall add a fifth part more thereof. So if you steal something, you add a fifth to it, right? In this manner, unto him in whom it pertaineth shall he give it. So our system was, you paid the person you stole from. It's like restitution now. In America, you steal Mrs. Smith's TV and you go to jail and work for the state. In Israel, you stole Mrs. Smith TV, you returned it with a fifth of a value. And in the day of the being guilty. And he shall bring his forfeit unto the Lord, a ram without blemish of the flock, according to thy evaluation, for a guilt offering unto the priest. And the priest shall make atonement for him before the Lord, and he shall be forgiven concerning whatsoever he doeth, so as he is guilty thereby. So that's the sacrificial system, right? The sacrificial system was ran by the Kohanim. The Kohanim were the sons of Aaron. The other Levites were security guards. The other Levites were security guards. They were porters. They were assistants. And what else was the Levites? Oh my God. Security, and judges. So we're going to get back into this. Let's climb. Oops, where we at? No, where's screen share here? No, we need that on the big screen. Let's get back into this presentation so we can learn about the day-to-day to Israel. The reason why I walked away from rabbinic Judaism is because the more and more I read the Torah and the Tanakh, I understood it doesn't align with what the Torah actually said Israel is. Rabbinic Judaism is a reflection of the people who started it. And since most of the people who created it were non-Israelites, or the inception of Rabbinic Judaism had non-Israelites in the beginning, there's confusion amongst them where they contradict the Torah a lot and they contradict the Tanakh a lot. And they've literally made up rulings. And since our people don't fully understand Israelite history, they lean towards that and they fall in love with the people and the prayer service, but they don't really understand what happens behind the scene. And I get a lot of love from Jewish people. So I don't have any personal issue with them. I know some of them are Edom, some of them are Japhet, and a small minority are Israel. But the overwhelming majority are the latter, not the former. So let's get into the book of Chronicles as I restore the culture of the Israelites back to the children of Israel. Come on, let's go.
Chapters 22 through 29, temple preparation and transition. Chapter 22, David prepares materials for the temple and instructs Solomon to build it, emphasizing the importance of seeking the Lord. Chapter 23, David organizes the Levites into divisions for their service in the temple. Chapter 24, the priests, descendants of Aaron, are organized into 24 divisions by lot for temple service. Chapter 25, the musicians and singers are organized into their own 24 divisions for temple worship. Chapter 26, the gatekeepers, treasurers, and other officials are assigned their duties. Chapter 27, David's civil and military administration is detailed. Chapter 28, David gathers the leaders of Israel and gives Solomon the plans for the temple. He encourages him to be strong and build it. Chapter 29, The people make generous offerings for the temple. David blesses God, and Solomon is made king.
Okay. In chapter 6 provides a genealogy of the priestly tribe, including the temple musicians. So now we have to go into the book of Chronicles. Wait, let's see. No, before I get into Chronicles, what I have here? Did I go too far? I want to show you something. Before we get into Chronicles, you have to understand where you came from to know where you're going, right? It's a saying that they say, if you don't know where you're going, any road can take you there. Meaning it doesn't matter the direction you go if you have no place to go. Right? So let's look at this here. Let's look at the wilderness, right? What does it say?
The wilderness period, Numbers. During this time, a Levite began preparatory service at age 25 in full, physically demanding service like transporting the tabernacle at age 30. They retired from these heavy tasks at age 50, but could still assist younger Levites. The relevant verses are Numbers chapter 4, verse 3, and Numbers chapter 8, verse 24 through 26.
So let's get an understanding of the life of a Levite, and then we're going to move into the life of regular Israelites and what their tasks. The reason I say regular is because Levites have a lot of responsibility. If you were a Levite at 25 years of age, 25 years old, according to what the Torah did, you would begin your training so you would know how to do sacrifices or help or whatever your mission was with the Levites for the service of God. You would have a 5-year training process. At the age of 30 years old is when you would begin your Levitical responsibilities, and you worked so you had an apprenticeship for 5 years. At 30 years old, you became a full-fledged worker, an assistant and contributor to the temple. And at 50, you will retire from the physical work, but you can still remain as a supervisor, right? David, however, once we no longer had to move the temple. See, in ancient times, before King David, before King David made his reforms, and remember, he's a king, he could do what he wants. All of this had to be packed up, carried, and traveled, along with everything that was inside the Ark of the Covenant, the menorah, everything that was inside of the holiest of holy had to be covered and brought up and carried too. When they were getting ready for David to transition his power to his son Solomon, and he gave him the blueprints, and he told him how to build the temple, he said the Levites will no longer be carrying this around. So what we'll do, I'm going to change their job descriptions, and I'm going to move the start age from 25 down to 20. And that matched the age of military duty. What does it say here?
The period of the temple, First Chronicles. With the establishment of the permanent temple, the age for Levites to begin service was lowered to 20, as the physical labor of transporting the tabernacle was no longer needed.
Now, Levi has 3 sons. The Levites can be broken down into 3 subsects. You have the Kohathites, the Merarites, and the Gershonites. I'm going to give you all what their job title was comprised of. Come on, read the Kohathites.
Kohathites, The Kohathites handled the tabernacle with the most sacred and dangerous items, including the Ark of the Covenant, the table showbread, the lampstand, and the altars. Strict handling instructions. Before the Kohathites could transport the holy objects, Aaron and his sons, the priests, also from the Kohathite clan, had to carefully cover them. The Kohathites were forbidden to touch or look at the sacred items directly, or they would die.
So I need you to understand something. Let's look at the sacred items from the temple. Inside of the temple, you had the Ark of the Covenant, the menorah, the showbread table, and the incense altar, and the golden basin that they will wash their hands in, right? Now, I need you to understand how intense the Levite job is, so you get, when I teach, when I bring forth the teaching that only Levites can teach you, it's going to get drilled in your head. So when you look at that understanding and you compare it to rabbinic Judaism, when anybody can become a rabbi and anybody can teach you, you'll see how you'll see how it's in juxtaposition and diametrically imposed it is to ancient Israelite way. Now, I want you to get this. Amongst the Levites, you had the Kohathites. Okay. Amongst the Levites, you have the Kohathites, the Merarites, the Gershonites, right? Korah, the guy who was killed in the wilderness, was a Kohathite. Izar, Hebron were also Kohathites. So they would have been the ones who had to come into the temple. They had to come into the Mishkan and carry all of these items, but they could never look at them directly. I need you to understand something, family. They could never look at them directly. Aaron's sons, had to come and put covers over all of these things, and the Kohathites could never look at them, or they would die. Where do we get that from? What does it say? Hold on. What was that verse that we were just reading from? Oh, man. We got it from here. What does it say?
Before the Kohathites could transport the holy objects, Aaron and his sons, the priests, also from the Kohathite clan, had to carefully cover them. The Kohathites were forbidden to touch or look at the sacred items directly, or they would die.
Now let's get here. Hold on. Now I want to show you. So there are going to be people who say, "Oh, it wasn't that serious." Let's go here. What does it say here?
And David and all the house of Israel played before the Lord with all manner of instruments made of cypress wood, and with harps, and with psalteries, and with timbrels, and with sistra, and with cymbals. And when they came forth, when they came to the threshing floor of Nachon, Uzzah put forth his hand to.
Let me read it. Hold on. When they came to the threshing floor of Nachon, Uzzah put forth his hand to the ark of God and took hold of it, for the ox stumbled. So it was getting carried by an ox, right? But the ox stumbled and he tried to grab it. He tried to grab the ark of the covenant so it wouldn't fall. But what happened?
And then the anger of the Lord was kindled against it.
And then the anger of the Lord was kindled against Uzzah, and God smote him there for his error. And there he died by the ark of God.
And David was displeased.
So this shows you when God tells you, hold on, you shouldn't do something, you shouldn't do it. You have to respect everyone's individual office. Israel had a very unique structure, and you have to respect the office, because if you don't respect the office, bad things will happen. What does it say?
This is the service of the sons of Kohath in the tent of meeting, about the most holy things. When the camp set it forward, Aaron shall go in, and his sons, and they shall take the veil of the screen and cover the ark of the testimony with it. And they shall put thereon a covering of sealskin, and shall spread over a cloth of all blue, and shall set the staves thereof. And upon a table of showbread they shall put a cloth of blue, and put thereon the dishes, the pans, and the bowls, and the jars wherewith to pour out, and the continual bread shall remain thereon. And they shall spread upon them a cloth of scarlet, and cover the same with a covering of sealskin, and shall set the stars thereof.
Staves thereof.
And they shall take a cloth of blue, and cover the candlestick of light, and its lamps, and its tongs, and its snuff dishes, and all the vessels, and all the oil vessels thereof, which they minister unto it. And they shall put it in all the vessels thereof with a covering of sealskin, and shall put it upon a bar. And upon the golden altar they shall spread a cloth of blue, and cover it with a covering of sealskin, and shall set the staves thereof. And they shall take all the vessels of ministry, wherewith they minister in the sanctuary, and put them in a cloth of blue, and cover them with a covering of sealskin, and shall put them on a bar. And they shall take away the ashes from the altar, and spread a purple cloth thereon.
Okay, they're just going to keep covering things, but keep going. Read 15.
And when Aaron and his sons have made an end of covering the holy furniture in all the holy vessels, as the camp is to be set forward, after that, the sons of Kohath shall not come to bear them, but they shall not touch the holy things unless they die.
They shall not what?
Touch the holy things unless they die.
It says the sons of Shohav shall come. You said shall not. You got to stop doing that because you'll add a word and change the sentence. The sons of Kohath shall come to bear them, but they shall not touch the holy things lest they die. What else?
These things are the burden of the sons of Kohath in the tent of meeting.
So God didn't just understand when they came. Let me show you the real life size. When they came and touched these things, God said you're going to die, and you're going to die. Now, let me show you why you should be very careful with following hold on. This chair is about to break on me. Now let's go here. Let's show you this. Now we saw what happened with Uzzah, right? He was killed. Let's show you what happened when a Gentile doesn't follow. Let's go here. What happened?
And the word of Samuel came to all Israel. Now Israel.
Okay, so the word of Samuel. So we got a context of what's happening. What happened?
And the Philistines fought, and Israel was smitten, and they fled every man to his tent, and it was a very great slaughter. For there fell Israel 30,000 footmen, and the ark of God was taken, and the two sons of Eli, Hophni and Pinchas, were slain. And there ran a man of Benjamin out of the army. It came to Shiloh the same day with his clothes rent, and with the earth upon his head. And when he came, lo, Eli sat upon his bread to eat by the wayside watching, for his heart trembled for the ark of God.
So I thought you couldn't touch the ark lest you die. But see, that commandment was only given to the children of Israel. Rabbinic halakhic Judaism is the exact same thing. I'm going to explain it to you so you can get context. God said that the Kohathites had to carry the ark with the staves, but they couldn't touch the holy thing lest they die. We saw Uzziah touch the Ark of the Covenant and die. But when non-Israelites touched the Ark of the Covenant, the Philistines, nothing happened to them. Why did nothing happen to them? Because that commandment was not given to them. So in Rabbinic Judaism, right, they make up laws, they change rulings, they change times and days and seasons, right? We're not going too deep. They tell you, they name a month after Tammuz with a T, the god of resurrection. They got a whole Babylonian calendar that they adopted with a bunch of idol names. And it's okay for them. They can still flourish because they're not really the children of Israel. And I'm here for the lost sheep of the house of Israel, those who are actually of Israel that want to do exactly what God said to do. So I'm going to show you why they can do what they want to do, right? What does it say?
Yes, Rabbi Akiva was descended from converts to Judaism. Some sources even state his father, Joseph, was a convert. Well, not a convert himself in the typical sense of a non-Jew adopting
So he's a convert. He comes from Canaanites. What does it say? What does it say? Ooh.
Yes, Jewish tradition teaches that Rabbi Akiva was descended from converts, particularly from the lineage of Sisera, the Canaanite general.
Okay, so he was from a Canaanite. And Canaanites was never supposed to be around us, right? So let's show you something else. What does it say?
Yes, the Talmud relates a legend that Rabbi Meir was descended from Nero, the Roman emperor, who supposedly escaped death and later converted to Judaism.
Okay, so that's Rabbi Meir. He wrote some of the Talmud, right? What does it say about him?
Yes, Onkelos was a prominent convert to Judaism in Roman times, known for producing the standard Aramaic translation of the Torah, known as Targum Onkelos.
So when you read the Targums, you're reading a Greek convert's breakdown of the Torah. What does it say?
Yes, Shemaiah and Avtalyon were indeed converts to Judaism, and according to the Talmud, they were descendants of King Sennacherib, a fact that was used to insult them, but also highlighted the Jewish peoples with the Jewish principle of leadership being based on merit.
Okay, but it is based on birth. But I just named, if you do your research, family, it's a quick Google search. You can pause the video, go back. These are 5 people that contributed during the Talmudic period to the writing of the Talmud. None of them were Levites. None of them were Israelites. And I'm going to explain why that's a problem. Matter of fact, I could explain why that's a problem now. We could jump ahead to ancient Israelite ways. We're going to jump ahead, and I'm going to show you why that's a problem. We're going to go to the curses of Deuteronomy 28. Remember, Deuteronomy 28, 15 and below are curses. These are bad things that's going to happen to us when we did not listen to God. So let's read this right here. What does it say?
And it shall come to pass, if thou wilt not hearken unto the voice of the Lord thy God, to observe and do all his commandments and his statutes, which I command thee this day, that all these curses shall come upon thee and overtake thee.
So all these curses, now these are curses, which means they're bad things, right? Let's go to what a curse that Moses stated would happen to us for not listening to him. What does it say?
The stranger that is in the midst of thee shall mount above thee higher and higher, and thou shalt come down lower and lower.
And what does it say?
He shall lend to thee, and thou shalt not lend to him. He shall be the head, and thou shalt be the tail.
He shall be the head, and you shall be the tail. Now, in Judaism, they have a term called a ger zedek and a ger toshuv. A ger toshuv is one who just lives around you. A ger zedek is a righteous ger. Unfortunately, this did not distinguish between the two. And the word nechar means it's just a sojourner who's not righteous. So this is giving you a straight up convert. Let's show you. I'll ask it this way. Ask a poor question, you get a poor answer. What does it say?
The Hebrew word Hagar means the convert or the stranger / sojourner in Judaism. Its meaning and application have evolved significantly from the biblical period.
What? So it says the convert. Let's just make it simple, right? It's
Yeah.
how they read it. The convert that is in the midst of thee shall mount up above thee higher and higher, and ye shall come down lower and lower. Now, this shows you that converts were, if it's a curse, that means they were never meant to be over us at all. And at any point, a convert is now telling Israelites what to do and what the law is and how to interpret the law. We're not following the system of God in righteousness. So let's get back to the Levites and their portion so we can understand. So the Kohathites had their job, right? The Merarites, what were the Merarites' duty?
The Merarites were in charge of the tabernacle's heavy spiritual components, the wooden frames, crossbars, posts, and bases, the spiritual components for the surrounding courtyard, including the
heavy duty transport. Let's go. Come on.
Gershon. The Gershonites. The Gershonites were responsible for the tabernacle's fabric coverings, including the tabernacle's curtains and coverings, the tent coverings, the curtain for the courtyard, and
transport assistance. And what was the priest's job? What were the jobs of the priests?
Aaron's priests were of the tribe of Levi, but had the unique role of priests. Their duties was different from the other Levites and invoked the most sacred tasks, performing sacrifices on the altar, entering the sanctuary itself to perform sacred duties, overseeing the Levites' work to ensure the proper handling and transport of all the tabernacle components.
So before we get here, let's go to First Chronicles and let's see what David did so you can understand the day-to-day life of the Israelites and understand your culture. And remember, we have a series of events that spoke to our dysfunction, but this is the optimal time of when we were actually moving in righteousness. This is the best example. Come on.
The King David was old and full of days, and he made Solomon his son king over Israel. He gathered together.
And he gathered together all the princes of Israel with the priests and the Levites. Go later. And the Levites were numbered from 30 years old upwards. And their number by their posts, man by man, was 38,000. So there were 38,000 Levites. Of these, 24,000. So out of 38,000, 24,000 Levites worked in the house of God. So 24,000 Levites worked at this temple right here. Right? Out of the 38. So that leaves you 14,000. Then it says, and 6,000 were made officers and judges. So they were the people that administered the rulings on what we had to do in a dispute. And they were also the people who administered the discipline and ensured that the law was done physically. That's what the officer's job was to do. And 4,000, so you have 8,000 left. 4,000 were doorkeepers. That means they were security for the temple. and 4,000 praised the Lord with instruments which made a praise therein. And David divided them into courses according to the sons of Levi, Gershon, Kohath, and Merari. Remember, we have three sons of Levi. The Gershonites, Shimei, the sons of Limnah, Jehiel, the chief. So he was the chief of Limnah's sons, who was Gershon. Ziptah, Joel, the three. The sons of Shimei, Shelomith, Hazael, Haran, the three. These were the heads of their fathers' houses. The son, and it's just going to go on to list what they did. The sons, right? The sons, Jephthah was the chief, and Zizah the second. But Yush and Beriah had not many sons, therefore they became a father's house in one's reckoning. And the sons of Kohath, Amram, Izhar, Hebron, Uzziah the four. The sons of Amram, Aaron and Moses. Aaron was separated that he should be sanctified as the most holy. He and his sons forever to offer before the Lord and minister unto him to bless his name forever. But as Moses, the man of God, his sons are named among the tribe of Levi. The sons of Moses, Gershon, Eleazar, Gershon, Shebuel the chief. These are Moses' sons. The sons of Itamar, Shelomith, Hebron, Amariah, Jecher, Marim, and Eleazar died and had no sons, only daughters, and their brethren, and the sons of Kish took them to wife. Sons of Mushai, Milah, Eliab, okay. These were the three sons of their father's houses. Let's get some more. And David said, the Lord thy God have given thee rest from all the people, and he dwelleth in Jerusalem forever. Also, the Levites shall no more have need to carry the tabernacle and all the vessels of service thereof. For by the last ordinances of David, the sons of Levi were numbered from 20 years old upward. So now the time moved down. Remember, David's the king. He can do what he wants. So you don't start your training at 25. At 20, it begins. For their station was at the side of the sons of Aaron for the service of the house of the Lord. So they were assistants to the Kohanes. That's what the Levites' jobs were. In the court, and in the chambers, and in the purifying of the holy things, and even the work of the service of the house. So they would carry the animals out. They would help drain the blood. All these things is what their job was to do, right? It says, for the showbread also, and for the fine flour for the meal offering, whether leavened wafers, or that of which baked and girdle on a griddle, and of that which soaked, and all that manner of measured size. And they stand every morning to thank and praise the Lord, and likewise at even. That's what they did. So in the morning time, at the morning sacrifice, they prayed, and at the evening sacrifice, they praised, not prayed, praised. And and to offer all the burnt offering unto the Lord. This is what Aaron's sons do on the Sabbath, on the Sabbaths, on the new moons, and in the appointed seasons. In number, according to the ordinances, consorting them continually before the Lord. That they should keep the charge of the tent of meeting, and the charge of the holy place, and the charge of the sons of Aaron their brethren, for a service of the Lord, of the house of the Lord. Now, what David did that was genius, he took the sons of the priests, he broke them down into 24 divisions and said, you have to work 2 weeks out the year. And it went like this. And the courses of the sons of Aaron were these. The sons of Aaron, Nadab, Abihu, Eleazar, Ithamar. But Nadab and Abihu died before their father and had no children. Therefore, Eleazar and Ithamar executed the office, the priest's office. So what's happening here? Aaron's sons are there. Nadab and Abihu died. So now you just have Eleazar and Ithamar. From Eleazar, Pinchas is named the next person that line has to go through because he slayed the Simeonite and the Moabite woman in the book of Numbers. And then Zadok, who is Pinchas' son, he becomes the line who the blessing of being the priest, the high priest goes through. So you have to be a Zadokite, Pinchanite, Eleazarite, Aaronite to be a priest, to be a Kohen of Israel. And it says, and David whipped Zadok of the sons of Eleazar and Ahimelech and the sons of Itamar, divided them according to their ordering in their service. And there were more chief men from the sons of Eleazar than from the sons of Ithamar. And thus they were divided of the sons of Eleazar. There were 16 heads of their father's houses, and of the sons of Itamar, according to their father's houses, there were 8. So that makes 24. So Eleazar and Ithamar, their sons are being divided into divisions. It was 18 here and 16 here and 8 here. So what does that mean for you? Okay. It says, thus they were divided by lot, one sort with another, for they were princes of the sanctuary and princes of God, both the sons of Eleazar and the sons of Ithamar. And Shimeiah, the sons of Nathanael, the scribe, who was of the Levites, wrote them in the presence of the king and the princes, and Zadok the priest, and Ahimelech, the sons of Abiathar, the heads of their fathers' houses, and the priests and the Levites, one father's house being taken from Eleazar and proportionately from Ithamar. And the first lot came, so they drew lots, and this is how their rotation went. So the first rotation went to Jeroboam, the second to Jedediah, the third went to Harab. So this is what this is the weeks that they had to do it. I'm sorry. The fourth was Sorim, the fifth was Malkijah, the sixth was Mijamin, the seventh was Hahos, the eighth was Abijah, the ninth week was Yeshu, the 10th was Shechaniah, the 11th was Elishab, the 12th was Yachim, the 13th was Hupar, the 14th was Yeshiba, the 15th was Bijah, the 16th Emar, 17th Hazer, 18th Hapizez, 19th Pithahayar, the 20th Yehezecher, the 21st Yachim, the 22nd, Gamul, the 23rd was Delilah, the 24th was Messiah. These were the orderings of their service. So when your week came up, there were 24 divisions. That means you did 2 weeks, and that means you did 2 weeks out of the year, because there are 52 weeks in a year. When there was a Shalosh Regalim, meaning Pesach, Shavuot, and Sukkot, they all came to Jerusalem because there were so many sacrifices that were going to be given by the people and so much work to be done. They all had to work those weeks. But outside of those weeks, everyone had their own individual week that you worked as a priest. It says, these were the offerings of them which came into the house of the Lord according to the ordinances given to them by the hands of Aaron their father, as the Lord, the God of Israel, had commanded. And the rest of the sons of Levi, the sons of Amram, Jibiel, and the sons of Jabiel, and Yehadiah of Rehabiah, and the sons of Rehabiah, Ishiah, the chief, and the Izarites, the Shilometh, Shilomoth, Yahath, Barani, Jereah, Amariah, the second, Jehaziel, the third, Jechamaain, the fourth Uziel, Mika Shemar, the brother. Okay, we got to just, because these are just a bunch of names. I don't want to think. These were the sons of Musha, Milad, Edad, Yehamoth. These were the sons of Levi after their fathers' houses. These likewise cast lots as their brethren, the sons of Aaron, in the presence of David, the king, and Zadok, and Ahimelech, and in their heads, and of their fathers' houses, the priests and the Levites of their fathers' houses, of the chief, even as their younger brother, even though his younger brother. Moreover, David and the captains of the host separated the service of the captains of Asaph. So different Levites did different things. So Asaph, Herman, and Jeduthun, who should prophesy with the harp, with psalm trees, and with cymbals, in number of them that did work according to their service. So Asaph used the harp to prophesy. Now, why is that important to know? Why do we have to read that? Psalms 83. What does it say here? Psalms 83, a psalm of Asaph. What does it say here? It says here, moreover, David and the captain of the host separated the servant of the sons of Asaph, and of Heman, and of Jeduthun, who should prophesy with harps and psalm trees, right? So, and the sons of Asaph, and we're going to go through his sons of Asaph, and this is what they did. Jebediah, Zerdi, Jehashia, Hashabayar, Matatahar, 6 in their hands, and their father Jeduthun with the harp, who prophesied and giving thanks and praising the Lord. So these were the men who played the harp in the temple. According to the direction of the king, Asaph, and all these were under the hands of their fathers for song in the house of the Lord, right? And they cast lots as well as small and great, the teacher as the scholar, because the Levites were the teacher, right? I'm sorry. And the number of them and their brethren were instructed in singing unto the Lord, even all that were skillful, was 200, 408. 280. 288. And they had to cast lots to who was going to sing and give thanks to the Lord, right? In the court, in the temple of the God, in the court, in the temple of God, right? Now, let's go to this prophecy, because this is important here. It said they prophesied using the harp. So you have a psalm of Asaph. O God, keep not thy silence. Hold not thy peace. Be not still, O God, for lo, thy enemies are in an uproar, and they that hate thee lift up thy head. They hold crafty counsel against thy people, and take counsel against thy treasured ones. They come and say, they have said, come, let us cut them off from being a nation, that the name of Israel be in remembrance no more. They have consulted together with one consent. Against thee do they make a covenant. Who made a covenant? The tents of Edom. So that means the house of Edom. Let's see why that's problematic. Edom converted to Judaism. I don't know if a lot of people know this. Yes, Edom, the Edomites, also known as Idumeans, were forcibly converted by the Hashmonean king John Hyrcanus in 125 BCE, leading to their assimilation into the Jewish people. This historic event marked the first forced conversion of the Idumean population, after which they became a part of the Jewish nation and were no longer known as a separate people, Notable figures was Herod the Great, who rebuilt the temple and were descendants of Idumean converts. Now, Asaph said that Edom, along with the Ishmaelites, Moab and the Hagarenes, would make a confederacy, right? They would hold a crafty counsel against thy people, and they wanted to cut off Israel from being a nation, that the name of Israel will be no more in remembrance. They went into Judaism. So if you have Edom into Judaism, and then you have your book telling you that Edom in Judaism is a bad look because they're taking counsel against God's chosen people. That's why their ways contradict the Torah. That's why they tell you Yom Teruah is the new year. They tell you Yom Teruah is the new year in their Talmud. Let me go here. They already got me a Baba Metzi. I don't want that. A little too far away. There are 4 days in the year that serve as the new year, each for a different purpose. On the first of Nisan is the new year for kings. Now, that's what they say, right? Now, to some people, that's not a major statement. To some people, it's like, oh, that's just the new year for kings. And right now, we're in a real new year. Let's see what Yehovah said. Vayomer Yehovah el Moshe el Aharon be'aretz Mitzrayim lemor. Speak until and spoke Yehovah to Moses and to Aaron in the land Mitzrayim lamor, and he said, HaHodesh, the month Hazeh, this Lekim to you. HaHodesh, this month to you, Lekim, is Rosh Hadarshim, right? Is the beginning. And then it says, Roshon hu Lekim lahodeshu Hashana. So this is the beginning of months to you, right? It says, the month shall be unto you the beginning of months. It shall be the first month of the year to you. This is Aviv. Here we have a blatant problem. But to those who are inclined to this, they're going to not see this as a problem. They're going to see the rabbi said, therefore, New Year's. But here I have God explicitly saying the words Rosh and Hashanah in regards to 1 month. And he never backs off of that. But you know why they may not be able to see that that's a problem? Because you have converts, Hagir, telling you what the Torah says. That's the first problem. And then you have Edomites, who, this is not conjecture. You have literal Edomites that converted into Judaism. And then you have Psalms 83 warning you that the Edomites would try to cut off Israel from being in remembrance. And now they're changing things that makes no sense. And they're contradicting the word of God. Now, they mention a bunch of other people, but they also mention these guys, right? Assyria also is joint with them. So this is really a condemnation of all the nations that pretty much make up rabbinic Judaism, respectfully, right? So they says Assyria is joined on with them. Let's see why Assyria would be problematic, right? Yes, according to Jewish tradition and rabbinic text, the Talmud, Rav of Talion, Rav Shemaiah were descendants of the king Sennacherib. Okay, now let's see. We're going to take a deep dive on this. Okay, what was their role in Judaism? So we know that they're Syrian converts. As leaders during the political tumultuous second period, Rav of Talion and Shemaiah played a crucial role in Judaism. Prominent sages and heads of the Sanhedrin. By tradition, they were converts. Okay, head of the Sanhedrin. Shemaiah served as Nasi, president of the Sanhedrin. Avtalia was Av Beit Din. They led the Jewish people during the period leading up to the reign of Herod the Great. Guardians of the oral tradition, as members of the fourth Zugot pairs, the sages, they received and passed the chain of the oral tradition. Their teachings were recorded in Pirkei Avot. Okay. Then they taught Hillel, teachers of Hillel. So you have two major schools, Hillel and Shemaim. So not only are they converts, but they're teaching prominent schools. So they are the teachers of Hillel. They were the teachers of Hillel and Shemaiah, who would go forth to found their own school of thought, Beit Hillel and Beit Shammai, profoundly shaping Jewish law. So there's only one problem with that. Moses said, there's one problem with that. There's actually two, but I want to show you why you can no longer, if you're a descendant of Israel, you can no longer follow this. And this is why I no longer follow it. Moses said, it's a curse. In the curses, let's read. Let's go here, 15. And it shall come to pass, if thou wilt not hearken unto the Lord, the voice of the Lord, or if thou wilt not hearken unto the voice of the Lord thy God, to observe, to do all his commandments and his statutes, which I command thee this day, all these curses shall come upon thee and overtake thee. So this was a curse. 43, the stranger that is in the midst of thee shall mount up above thee higher and higher, and thee shall go down lower and lower. Now, when he made it to be we have Edomites that converted into the way. We have things like this that contradict what the Torah says. We have Rav of Tala and Shemaiah, Rav of Talion and Shemaiah. They're heads of the Sanhedrin. They're part of the transmission of the oral law, and they're teachers of major schools. But there's one problem. God listed not only Edom, but Assyria. Hillel and Shemaiah is from Assyria. It's also joint with them. They have been an arm to the children of Lot, Selah. So the psalmist is saying that this is a problem. And these people are enemies of God. But in rabbinic Judaism, these men are revered and respected as sages. And you have to take what they say over what the Torah itself says. That's problematic. Now, getting back to the Levitical portion, so they cast lots, and that's how they decided who were going to praise, and they broke them down into 4 and 20 to 24 divisions as well too. So they were on a rotating schedule. And for the security in 2 Chronicles 26. So you got a schedule for the priests, a schedule for the singers, the people who praise, and you got a schedule for the security. Let's see what the security broke down to. Okay, so it says, Shupah who share westward by the gate, Shelechad, the causeway, to go forth by ward against ward, eastward, 6 Levites, for the precinct westward, 4 at the causeway. These were the courses of the doorkeepers of the house of the Korathites and the sons of Merari, of the Levites Ahijah, and over the treasures of the house of God, because they had gold, solid gold in there. You didn't want anything stolen. So they were like the Shomreen or the police, and over the treasures of the hallowed things. And the sons of Ladan, the sons of the Gershonites. So everyone had a task. So if you were a Levite, you were broken down into security, praise, or priests. That's what your job was. You no longer carried the Mishkan, and you reported to work twice a year in your shifts. And at the time where everyone came, we all would go down to Israel. Right? So that's the temple. That's how the temple worked. The temple was not a place we went like on Shabbat to worship. That's in the future. We'll be able to do that. Now, Levites were the only teachers of the law. Several verses point to Levites being the only people that teach the law. So I'm going to run through these very briefly and give you another reason why it's problematic to follow any way other than the ways of your ancient forefathers. I'm going to start at Numbers 33 so you can understand who you would have went to in ancient Israel to learn the Torah. It says, of Levi, he said, Thou Urim and Athurim, be with thy Holy One. Thou didst prove at Massa. Okay, so they showed that they were good. We're going to skip this part, and we're going to come right here. They shall teach Jacob thine ordinances, and Israel thy law. This is who Moses wrote in the Torah was supposed to be the teachers. He didn't list anyone else. Now, I know people are going to run to Deuteronomy 17, but let's close out this thought, and then let's show you why Deuteronomy 17 is erroneously stated as someone being the teachers other than Levi. So first, let's go to Deuteronomy 31:9. I'm saving Deuteronomy 17 for a reason. So Deuteronomy 33, it says of Levi at 8, and then at 10, they shall teach Jacob thy ordinances and Israel thy law. So let's go to verse 31. Verse 17. Oh, let's see if I got it right. Up 31:9. The Lord will establish the holy people sworn. $28. And Moses wrote this law and delivered it to the priests, the sons of Levi, who bore the ark of the covenant, and unto all the elders of Israel. And Moses commanded them, saying, at the end of every 7 years, in the set time of the year of release, in the Feast of Tabernacles, when all Israel come to appear before the Lord of God, in the place which he shall choose, thou shalt read this law before all Israel in their hearing. So the Levites got the law, the elders was there, and the Levites were commanded to read the law in front of Israel every 7 years. Assemble the people, the men and the women, the little ones, the strangers within our gate, that they may hear and that they may learn and fear the Lord their God and observe to do all the words of this law. Now, this is Levi getting the law. And I should have saved this one too. But let me go a little bit further. So we have Levi, they're going to teach that, read that law and teach that too. We're going to come back to that 17. We're going to go to Malachi chapter 2. And now this commandment is for you, O ye priests. This is a prophet of God speaking. For the priest's lips should keep knowledge, and they should seek the law at his mouth, for he is the messenger of the Lord of hosts. So Levi is the only teacher in Israel. Read it again. For the priest's lips, this is the Kohen, this word is Kohen, should keep knowledge, and they should seek the law at his mouth, for he is the messenger of the Lord of hosts. Go back here. Let's go to 2 Chronicles. Second Chronicles 17, 7 and 9. In the third year of the reign, he sent the princes, even Behada, Obadiah, Zechariah, Netaniah, Micaiah, to teach in the cities of Judah. So he sent princes to teach in the city of Judah. Now remember, this is a king. He can do what he wants. Well, let's read the next line before we get too excited. And with them, the Levites, even Shemaiah, Nethaniah, Zebediah, Asayer, Shemi, Ramoth, Yehonathan, Adoniah, Tob Adoniah, the Levites, and with them Elishama and Jeroham the priests. And they taught in Judah, having the book of the law of the Lord with them. And they went about throughout all the cities of Judah and taught among the people. So this is King Jehoshaphat, right? He did put people in Judah. This is the only time you can find it. And I brought you here for a reason. This is the only time you can find it. But what does he have with them? They're tied to the hip with the Levites. Let's go to 2 Chronicles chapter 30. And the children that were present at Jerusalem kept the feast of 7 days great. And the Levites, the priests, praised the Lord by singing with instruments. And Hezekiah encouraged, and Hezekiah spoke encouragingly unto all the Levites that were skilled in the service of the Lord. And so they did eat throughout the feast, offering giving thanks unto the Lord, the God of their fathers, and the whole congregation kept counsel 7 days. And Hezekiah did give the congregation for offering 1,000. No, that's not what I'm looking for. And with the priests and the Levites and all the congregation of Judah, they came to Israel and strangers. Nope. I'm looking at a roll and bless the people. Nope, it's not what I'm looking for. Let's go to 35:3. Let's get another example of it. And Josiah kept the Passover in Jerusalem, killed the Passover lamb. Chapter and verse. We're in the book of 2 Chronicles, chapter 35, verse 1. And Josiah kept the Passover to the Lord in Jerusalem, and he killed the Passover lamb on the 14th day of the first month. And he set the priests in their charge. So he set them in their charge, meaning what they were supposed to do, and encouraged them to the service of the Lord, to the service of the house of the Lord. And he said unto the Levites that taught all Israel that were holy unto the Lord, put the ark of the house, which Solomon the son of David, the king of Israel, did build, there shall no more be a burden upon your shoulders. Now serve the Lord and his people. So this is showing you once again who were the teachers of Israel. Right? Now let's look at what happens when Levi didn't teach. 2 Chronicles chapter 11, the king that sent the Levites away. It says, verse 6, at the mouth, that's a bad verse. Let's go to 2 Chronicles 11. Okay, this is the king that kicked the people out. Right? It says, this is Jeroboam. And the priests and Levites that were in all Israel presented themselves to him out of all their borders. And the Levites left their open land in their possession and came unto Judah and Jerusalem to Jeroboam. For Jeroboam and his sons, let me read that again. The priests and Levites opened their land and their possessions and came to Judah to Jerusalem. For Jeroboam and his sons cast them off, that they should not execute the priest's office unto the Lord. So he didn't want them teaching. And he appointed him priests for the high places and for the satires and for the calves which he made. And after them, out of all the tribes of Israel, such as set their hearts to seek the Lord, the God of Israel, came to Jerusalem to sacrifice unto the Lord. So he made priests from where he wanted to make them. And this is showing you. And when we look at the Northern Kingdom history, It says, according to the Hebrew Bible, there were no good kings in the northern kingdom of Israel, while some kings in the southern kingdom of Judah received positive biblical judgment. So this was the first king of northern kingdom that did this, that sent out all of the Levites. The first king of the northern kingdom, Rehoboam, he sent out all the Levites. I'm sorry, Jeroboam, he sent out all the Levites. And after he sent out all the Levites and made anybody priest, they never had a good king because they never had a good teacher. So if we can see that God has killed people for imposing on things that he told them not to do. Not saying it's a death penalty to teach if you're not a Levite, but I'm saying, how could you follow any religion or any ideology that promotes non-Levites teaching you? It just doesn't make logical sense. Now, we do have to deal with something, like I promised. We have to deal with Deuteronomy 17. Let me see if I can get there first. Officers and judges. Let's understand Deuteronomy 16, and then we can get Deuteronomy 17 correctly. Judges and officers shalt thou make thee in all thy gates. The Lord thy God giveth thee. Tribe by tribe, thou shalt judge the people with righteous judgment. Thou shalt not wrest judgment. Wrest means going back and forth, which this book is about arguments and wresting judgment. It's literally about people going back and forth on judgments. And the priest came and glanced at the holy. This is what this book is about. Back and forth judgments. And majority, and in this book, the majority decides what the ruling is. And that's not what the Torah says. I'm going to give you another example of that. Lodati haye, do not do or create achre rabim. Do not go after the multitude, lera'ot. So it tells you, don't follow a multitude to basically like corrupt or turn away. Right? It says, thou shalt not follow a multitude to do evil, neither shalt thou bear false witness. So even if you take the bear false witness part out, following a multitude to do evil is it within itself its own command. When you side with the majority and you go with a majority ruling, like it says in Bava Metzia 59A or 59B, where it says that halak is decided through majority consensus, that's not what Moses told you. He says, do not wrest judgment, meaning it's done by who's right and who's wrong. Justice shalt thou follow. Thou mayest live and inherit the land. Thou shalt not, okay. So we have to make judges and officers. Let's see the job of a judge and officer. Now, to get the full understanding, you have to read this right here. At the mouth of two witnesses or three witnesses shall he that is be put to death, shall he that is to die be put to death. At the mouth of one witness, he shall not be put to death. The hand of the witness shall be first to put his hand to put him to death, and afterwards his hand and all the people. So thou shalt put away the evil from the midst of thee. Now, right after that, it says, if there arise a matter too hard for thee in judgment, between plea and plea, meaning you have 3 witnesses saying one thing here and 3 witnesses saying the exact opposite there, between blood and blood, between stroke and stroke, fight and fight, matters of controversy within thy gates. Then thou shalt arise and get thee up to the place which the Lord thy God shall choose. This place does not exist in captivity. This was the temple in Jerusalem, right? And thou shalt come unto the priests, the Levites, and unto the judge. So you can't just go to a judge. The modern day rabbinic system saying they're rabbis, and it's in their rabbis because they are the judges, the equivalent to the judges of this time. The problem is, if you want to play that game, the commandment says, thou shalt come unto the priest, the Levite, and the judge. When you take the priest and the Levite out of that equation, you're now guilty of doing this. You're now doing this. Ye shall not add unto the word which I command thee, neither shall ye diminish from it, that ye may keep my commandment. So when you're saying that the rabbis today are now the judges, you still need the priest and the Levite. If you don't have the priest and the Levite, you have a made-up court, which means you're breaking and you're taking away from the law if you're trying to say you're fulfilling the law by making judges without Levites there today and Kohanes. Thou shalt inquire, and they shall declare unto thee the sentence of the judgment. They're not teaching you the Torah. They're teaching you who is right in a dispute. The rabbis have taken a verse about disputes between 2 people with multiple witnesses on each side and turned that into, they have the ability to say, Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kinishara b'mesitav v'tzivanu le Hanukkah, or to light the Hanukkah. Thank you, God, for commanding me the commandment to light the Hanukkah when it wasn't even a Hanukkah when the Torah was put forth. That's an addition. Or saying it's mandatory that someone fast for Tish B'Av. That's an addition. Or saying that we can't have meat and cheese. That's your interpretation. Or saying you can't have more than one wife. That's your tradition that you're putting on the Torah. You're adding to the Torah. Because that the Torah, this context is only for a dispute between 2 people. They're not there to teach you the Torah. They're there to give you the ruling of who's right between disputes between 2 people. And any other interpretation of this is an emphatic lie. It says, and thou shalt do according to the tenor in the sentence that they shall declare unto thee from the place that the Lord thy God shall choose. Thou shalt observe to do according, or that they shall teach thee about the sentence, not about the Torah. And according to the law that they shall teach thee, according to the judgment. So to say, according to the Torah, this is the judgment of who is correct. They're not teaching you the whole Torah. According to the judgment which they shall tell thee. And thou shalt do that, and thou shalt not turn aside from the sentence which they shall tell thee from the right hand or to the left. And anyone who do so, the priest is they're gonna kill you. It says that doesn't hearken or does presumptuously to the priest and the man who doeth presumptuously and not hearkening unto the priest that standeth to minister there before the Lord thy God, or unto the judge, even that man shall die, and thou shalt exterminate the evil from Israel. Your older people shall hear the fear and do no more presumptuously. Now, let's talk about the whole history of Israel. We have 2 instances where there's judges. So that means there wasn't a court leading up to that, getting back to the everyday life of Israel. So you didn't have a court. You went to the elders in the gate, and the elders in the gate told you who was right and who was wrong in a dispute. Hold on. Where do we know that's where the elders, where the judgments were given at? Trying to find an example for you. Her husband is known in the gates where he sitteth among the elders of the land. So the elders sat in the gate, and that's where the judgment went forth. That's where you went to get the judgment. Let's go to this judge time. 2 Chronicles 9:19. And just to reiterate, if you believe that anybody was supposed to teach you based off Deuteronomy 17, and you believe that that teaching was anything more than the literal judgment between who was right, between 2 people who had a problem, then I will raise you this. Then you have to explain, why would Moses say, Levi, they shall teach Jacob thy ordinances, and Israel thy law? This makes no sense if, according to Deuteronomy 17, anybody can teach the law. They taught the law according to who was right or wrong in a fight, who was right or wrong in a dispute. And if you couldn't get the answer from them, then you went to Jerusalem with the high priest, with the Urim and the Thummim, and a judge of that place, and then they inquired of God, and that's how they gave you the answer. $19.5. This is 2 Chronicles 19:5. This is King Jehoshaphat. And Jehoshaphat dwelt in Jerusalem, 19:4, and went out again amongst the people of Beersheba and his country and Ephraim, and brought them back unto the land and the God of their fathers. And he set up judges in the land throughout all the fortified cities of Judah, city by city, because they had gates. And he said to the judges, consider what ye do, for ye judge not for man, but for the Lord. And he is with you in giving judgment, not making up laws, not coming up with new halakha, not coming up with new breakdown. You're just there to judge who's right and who's wrong. Now, therefore, let the fear of the Lord be upon you, and take heed to do it, for there is no iniquity with the Lord our God, nor respect of persons, nor taking bribes, because you were battling between who was right and who was wrong. There was no Anachanesa Hagadol. There was no Sanhedrin. That's a fake, made up tradition from Pharisaic Jews who wanted to backdate their history to Moses in the time of the Israelites. Moreover, in Jerusalem, Jehoshaphat set the Levites and the priests and the heads of their fathers' houses of Israel for judgment of the Lord and for controversies. And they returned to Jerusalem. And so remember, you don't have a judge system if you don't have Levites and judges. And he charged them, saying, thus shall you do in the fear of the Lord faithfully with a whole heart. And whensoever any controversy shall come up to you from your brethren that dwell in their cities between blood and blood, between law and commandment, statute and ordinances, ye shall warn them that they be not guilty towards the Lord. So wrath come upon you and upon your brethren, thus shall ye do, and ye shall not be guilty. Hallelujah. And I'm going to give you a greater breakdown of this too, because they dealt with matters between people, and the Levites dealt with the law, the commandments, and the statutes, as Moses said. I'm going to iron that one out for you too. Just bear with me. Hold on, let me go here. Okay, got to get to that. Jethro's court. So we could understand what everyday life was about. So remember in Proverbs, we just went to Proverbs 31, and we showed you that the judges, it says her husband is known in the gates when he sitteth among the elders of the land, because that's where you went to judge it. Now let me show you that's where you went to judge it. Hold on. Let me show you that's where judgment came forth. Let's go to 2 Samuel 15. And it came to pass, after this, Absalom prepared him a chariot. He arose up early. Okay, Absalom used to rise up early and stand beside the way of the gate. Now, in David's time, when David ruled as king, he didn't set up judges. David set up his judges, which he only made the Levites judges, 6,000 of them. He set up his judges for Solomon to become king. Now remember, Proverbs 31 says what? Her husband is known in the gates when he sitteth among the elders of the land. Let's see what the elders of the land were supposed to be doing at the gates. And Absalom used to rise up early and stand beside the way of the gate. I mean, he's in the gates. And it was so that when any man had a suit which should come to the king for judgment, then Absalom calls unto him and says, of what city art thou? And they said, thy servant is from one of the tribes of Israel. So I'm an Israelite. And Absalom said unto him, see, thy matter are good and right, but there is no man deputed of the king to hear thee. Meaning David didn't even have judges in his time. There was no high court. There was no Nebuchadnezzar Gadol. There was no Sanhedrin. There was no great assembly. That's made up. The great assembly was in Moses' time. After that, you might have got some residue for Joshua, but it disappears. It disappears by Joshua dies. By the time Joshua dies. By the time we get the judges, it literally says at the end of Joshua, the men that were with Joshua when they died, the community went into crap because there was no succession of judges or courts. And Absalom said, moreover, of that that I were made judge in the land, that every man who hath any suit or cause might come unto me, and I would do him justice. He didn't say teach him the law. He was just going to judge. And it was so that when any man came nigh to prostrate himself before him, he put forth his hand and took hold of him and kissed him. And the man did Absalom to all Israel that came to the king for judgment. So Absalom stole the heart of men of the men of Israel. So that gets that. Jethro's court. Let's get to Jethro's court. We're almost done with ancient Israel and how everything went. Now, people may think Jethro's court was an everlasting court. Let's see. Jethro. This is what happens. The people are coming to Moses. They're waiting forever to hear ruling. And this is what Moses says. This is what Jethro tells Moses. Hearken now unto my voice. I will give thee counsel, and God be with thee. And thou shalt be for the people before God, and bring thy causes unto God. So Moses brought the causes unto God because he prayed and talked directly to God for divine revelation. When you get to the time of Deuteronomy 17, the reason why you went to the Levite and the priest, because they sat in the stead of Moses. They had the same ruling power as Moses, but it wasn't politically based. It was spiritually based. And I'm going to show it to you as we get to the next section. And we're almost done with this. So they go to Moses, and Moses goes to God, right? But he sets up a hierarchy system. Thou shalt teach them the statutes and the laws, and shalt show them the way wherein they must walk, and the work that they must do, right? Moreover, thou shalt provide out of all the people able men, such that fear God, men of truth, hating unjust gain, place such over them to be rulers of 10, rulers of thousands, rulers of hundreds, rulers of 50s, rulers of 10s, and let them judge the people at all seasons. They're not teaching them the law. They're judging between disputes. And it shall be that every great matter they shall bring unto thee, but every small matter they shall judge themselves. So shall they make it easier for thee to bear the burden. Now, what's the problem with this? The problem is this. There's one major problem here. I'm going to get it for you right now. Got to go to this Agata to show this point, but the Agadoth speaks to how the thought process, right? Where is this at? Give me 1 second. Let me just bear with me. Here we go. It is not in having Lobo Shushamayim, right? Lobo Shemayim, right? It says, since the majority of rabbis disagree with Rabbi Eliezer's opinion, the halakha is not ruled in accordance to his opinion. Now, this law doesn't state anything about it. That's actually democracy, when you have a majority rule. Okay. It says, in political science or electoral studies, the majority rule voting system is most often called, nope, it sent me right back to the other page. The majority rule is a fundamental principle of democracy, but it's not the sole defining characteristics. Okay. Decision-making process majority rule is most common method for making collective decisions in democracies. So this is letting you know it's more aligned with democracy than what ancient Israel did. Your forefathers had a tier system. It would go to him. He couldn't figure it out. It go to him. He couldn't figure it out. It go to him. He couldn't figure it out. It go to him. He couldn't figure it out. It goes to Moses. And where does it ultimately end up? It ultimately ends up in God's hand. And this, it tells you that since the majority of rabbis disagree with Rabbi Eliezer's opinion, the halakha is not ruled in accordance to his opinion. So halakha is based off a majority vote. So that's another problem that contradicts it, especially in lieu of the law saying, do not follow a multitude to do evil, meaning a multitude could be wrong. So that's Jethro's system. This is Jethro's system right here. This is his judging system, not 71 people voting. And if it goes 41 or 42:39, you win. That's not how the Torah goes. Now let's go to the military. We're almost done. Oh, wait. Before we get to the military service start. This is very brief. We don't even need much for the military. If you were a regular Israelite, a non-Levite, and not the son of a king, you would be tasked to join the military at age 20 years old. At 20 years old, you will begin your military service. So let's discuss the exemptions for someone who didn't have to fight in the war. Right? Oh, I think it's better if I just go here. So there was a mandatory draft for all Israelites from 20 years old and upward. When I go out to battle against our enemies and see horses and chariots and people more than thee, thou shalt not be afraid, for the Lord thy God is with thee, who brought thee up out of the land of Egypt. It shall be when you draw nigh to battle that the priest shall approach before the people and say, and speak unto the people, and he shall say, Hear, O Israel, ye draw nigh this day unto battle against your enemies. Let not your heart faint, nor fear not, nor be alarmed, neither be affrighted at them. And the Lord thy God is he that goeth with thee to fight against thee, that fight for you against thy enemies to save you. And the officers shall speak to the people, declaring, Whoever hath built a new house and have not dedicated it, let him return to his house. Okay, lest he die. Then the officer would say, Who's planted a vineyard and have not had the fruit thereof? He can go home. Who betrothed the wife and had not taken her? Let him go home. And the officer shall speak further to the people, saying, What man is it that fearful and faint of heart? Let him go and return to his house, lest his brethren's heart be faint. So even if you were drafted to the military, if you had a wife, you didn't have to go out for 1 year. Anybody who joined the army can stay home for 1 year once they get a wife. If you built a vineyard, you didn't have to stay in a fight. You had a house, you had to stay in a fight, because it really wasn't about Israel. And if you were just an outright coward and was afraid, they would send you home. So, but military service was mandatory. And I want to get a little bit deeper into how the military service worked out. And then we're going to show how court matters were handled. Okay. Let's go here to show you an everyday occurrence. So when your son is 20 years old, he would be forced into the military, no questions asked. Now, when it comes to battle, if he was afraid, I mean, there was nothing they could do, because the Torah states he can leave if he's afraid. But that doesn't mean he's not due to his service. But King David in his wisdom set it up this way. Now the children of Israel, after their number, to wit, the heads of their fathers' houses, and the captains of the thousands and hundreds, and their officers that served the king, in the matter of courses, in any matter of the courses which came in and went out the mouth, month by month, throughout all the months of the year, of every course were 24,000. So he had 24,000, and every month there was a rotation of Israelites that would have to be front line and center for that month. And if a full-fledged war broke out, then all Israelites were summoned to the battle. But the standing army consisted of the rotation of 24,000, one for every month of the year. That's how we know our calendar was a 12-month calendar. And we're going to get more into that. Over the first course of the first month was Yahu Bar'im, the son of Zibael, and in his course were 24,000. So he had 24,000 in his month. Of the children of Perez was he and the chief of all the captain of the host for the first month. And over the course of this second month was Duda the Ahohite in his course of Michahot the ruler. In his course were 24,000. And the third captain, and just going to go on and on. And his chief of his course were 24,000. And this is Benaiah, who was of the mighty men of the 30 and over the 30. And of the course was Amaziah and his sons. And the fourth captain was in the fourth captain for the fourth month was Asael, the brother of Joab, Zebediah of the son. So that, and in his course were 24,000. And the fifth was Shumhuth, and his course was 24,000. In the sixth month was Era, and his course was 24,000. In the seventh month, in the seventh captain was Helez, right? He was from Ephraim, and his course was 24,000. In the eighth month was Shebaiah, and he had 24,000 who came to report with him. In the ninth month was Abiazar, and he had 24,000. In the 10th month was Myra, and he had 24,000. In the 11th month was Benaiah, and he had 24,000. And in the 12th month was Helda, and he had 24,000. Furthermore, over all the tribes of Israel of the Reubenites were Eleazar, the son of Zechariah the ruler, the Simeonites. And they had 24,000 people. So if you were in the Israelite army, you would be part of one of these bands of 24,000. Right? And that was the numbers that's based on the numbers they had at that time. If the numbers grew, they grew. But you had 24,000 men that had to report for 1 month out the year for service. And according to the band or the battalion that you were a part of, that's the month that you served. And if all war broke out and they needed all hands on deck, then all hands was on deck. So that's how our army and our military was set up. So far we had our court, we had our Levites, we had our sacrificial system, we had our teaching system, right? And we had our judicial system. So let's go into how we decided judgments, right? Let's go here. Now, let's go to why Levi just wasn't chosen to teach just because it was nepotism. And they weren't chosen to be as part of the chiefs of judgment. But let's go here, because this is an important element right here that we must consider. Oh, I'm sorry, brother James. I just saw what you wrote. No, brother. According to the Talmud itself, Israelites wasn't involved in the Talmud. I read off the people that were converts. Those people were converts, my brother. Now, they're going to claim that some Israelites were contributors to the Talmud. However, I just gave you the source itself from the Talmud. So that's a very dangerous doctrine to follow if you're an Israelite. If you're an Israelite, your legacy and your lineage is this right here. If you're a person that came into rabbinic Judaism, then that's what they do. If you're Edom, if you're Japhet, if you're a Goy that converted into that way, then that's what they do. But I would even tell those brothers and sisters that they should come and serve the Creator and serve the Creator alone. And the purpose of this lesson was to give the layout of how ancient Israel was, so there's no confusion into what Israelite history was and what it wasn't. And what it wasn't was the Talmud, the Mishnah, and the Gemara. That's something that was made up after we were already sent into exile. Toda Aki. But let's go to Deuteronomy 33, right? Deuteronomy 33 says, I'm going to show you how they came up with the judgment. And there was no oral commandments and there was no oral tradition. No disrespect to brothers who believe in that. I'm just here to teach my people, the lost sheep, that's lost and don't know the way. We trying to show them the way. And of Levi, he said, thy Thummim and thy Urim be with thy Holy One. Now, Urim and Thummim is how it was a lie detector. That's how we knew how to get answers from God. I'm going to prove it to you. And then it says, they shall teach Jacob thy ordinances and thy law. So let's look into this right here. How do we know that's how it worked? You have to go throughout the entire Tanakh to get context clues. Now, we have two examples of lineage in this verse. Ezra speaks on lineage patrilineally, and I'm going to show this to you. Now, these were they that went up from Tel Melad, Tel Harsha, Shudab, Abna, and Emer, but they could not tell their father's house, their father's houses, and their seed, whether they were of Israel. So they couldn't prove that they were Israelites through their father, so they weren't allowed to be around us. Right? Now, we're going to go down to another verse, verse 61. And the children of Israel, of the priests, of the Kohens, the children of Habidiah, the children of Hakos, the children of Barzillai, who took a wife of the daughters of Barzillai, the Gileadite, and was called after their name. They sought their registry, that is their genealogy, but it was not found. Therefore, they were deemed polluted and put from the priesthood. So they had to be kicked out the priesthood. And the Tishathite said unto them that they should not eat of the most holy things, meaning they couldn't eat of the sacrifices that came here until when? Most holy things till there stood up a priest with the Urim and the Thummim, because that's how we did lie detectors. Let's go some more. Let's show you some more of how we came up with our judgments. We didn't come up with our judgments through an oral law or a voting system. Let's go. Bring it on right now. Hold on. Let's go to Mem Chrome Ray again. Wait, let's go here. We had the Urim and the Thummim, and we had something called the ephod, right? Now let's see what the ephod's purpose was. You gotta get to the 30th chapter. Now let's read this here. And David was greatly distressed, for the people spoke of stoning him, because the soul of all the people were grieved, every man and his sons and his daughters. But David strengthened himself in the Lord his God. And David said to Abiathar the priest, the son of Ahimelech, I pray thee bring thee hither the ephod. And Abiathar brought thither the ephod to David. Now, why would David need the ephod? Why would David need the ephod? The ephod, right? David would need the ephod. Remember, this breastplate was only worn once a year. But why would David need the ephod? Let's see. And David said to Abiathar the priest, the son of Ahimelech, I pray thee, bring me the ephod. And Abiathar brought hither the ephod to David. And what did David use it for? Let's see. And David inquired of the Lord, saying, shall I pursue after the troop? Shall I overtake them? And he answered him, pursue, for thou shalt surely overtake them. Thou shalt fail, recover all. Thou shalt wait, and shalt without fail cover all. So God spoke to David when David used the ephod. So this is why when we look at Levi having the Urim and the Thurim, right, which house the ephod, which is housed in the ephod, right? That's why you went to them for judgment. That's why in Leviticus and Deuteronomy 17:8, if two witnesses were going, if they had witnesses on both sides and someone was lying, you went to the Levite, the priest, and to the judge. You explained it, they told you the law, and that's why the person who didn't listen had to die. Because it wasn't that they were just disobeying the priest, it was that they were disobeying God himself, because the priest was using the Urim Okay, let me see where I'm at now. Okay, got a little figured out. Okay, let me see where I'm at. There we go. I don't know where I was at, but I'm going to finish off with this Udim and Studim. See if I can work this share screen. Here we go. Gonna make it happen, family. So we have two examples of the Udim and the Thudim being used. I want to go over this again because I don't know if anyone missed it, but I don't want to get the point lost. So David, the king of Israel, we're gonna go to 1 Samuel's. So let's just review really quick. We have it says, the Tishbasa said, you shall not eat of the holy thing till there stand up a priest with the Udim and the Thudim. The Udim and the Thudim was a part of this right here. They went here, the Uvid and the Thudim, and this was the ephod. So you wore the ephod, the Udim and the Thudim was on it, and that was like an ancient lie detector test. So that's how we came up with our rulings. So let me go to 1 Samuel verse 30, and let's show you this right here. It says, and David said to Abiathar, the son of Ahimelech, I pray thee bring me hither the ephod. And Abiathar brought hither the ephod to David. And David inquired of the Lord, saying, shall I pursue after this troop? Shall I overtake them? And he said to him, pursue, thou shalt overtake them. Thou shalt without fail recover all. So the ephod gave David direction right there and showed him that God, this is how God spoke to David, using the ephod with the Udim and the Thudim. Now let's go to another example of how. So we have this one in Ezra, right? Let's go here. Let's see what this one says. Let's see what. Let's go to 1 Samuel. No, it's more efficient if I come here. I'm going to show you another one. You got 1 Samuel, right? Then we're going to go to 23. And we're going to see another example of the Udim and the Thudim working for us. And we're going to see another. Oh, it's showing the wrong screen. Oh. Almost done with this. It's not letting me share the screen proper. Let me see if I can get this thing rolling. If not, we just gonna have to talk you through it, and y'all gonna have to get the verse with me. All right, so look, this is what we're gonna do. Got another cyber attack going on, but we're gonna keep this show rolling. We have the Udim and the Thudim here in Ezra. We had it in 1 Samuel's chapter 30, verse 7, and then I'm going to give you another example of it. And you can track this in your own personal books. This is going to be 1 Samuel chapter 23. And in 1 Samuel chapter 23, it's when King Saul is coming to attack David. And we're going to pick this up. And y'all just going to have to get y'all book and follow along with me at verse 11. No, I'm going to pick this up at verse 10. So in 1 Samuel 23, you're going to have to pick this up at verse 10. No. Verse 9. 1 Samuel 23, verse 9. And David knew that Saul had devised mischief against him, and he had said to Abiathar the priest, bring hither the ephod. And he said to David, O Lord, thy God of Israel, thy servant hath surely heard that Saul seeketh to come to Keilah to destroy the city for my sake. Will the men of Keilah deliver me up into thy hand? Will Saul come down and deliver thy servant? O Lord, the God of Israel, I beseech thee. Tell thy servant, O Lord, our God, Lord God, I beseech thee, tell thy servant. And the Lord said, he will come down. Then said David, will the men of Keilah deliver me up, me and my men up into the hand of Saul? And the Lord said, he will deliver thee up. Then David and his men, who were 600, arose and departed out of Keilah. Now, the point of emphasis and why this is important is because if David understood that the ephod was able to be a lie detector, you can clearly see why it would have been significant to the Levites. You can clearly see why the Levites would have been the main people who you went to for rulings, as you can look in Deuteronomy 17, when you can see Deuteronomy 33, which says the Udim and the Thudim is with Levi, Deuteronomy 33:8, and then verse 10 says they're going to teach. So I'll share what I can share. Now let me share slides, but PDF. Let me see this. Okay, let's see how this goes. So you can clearly see. So now I got it to work. David used the Udim, he used the ephod, right? The ephod would have housed the Lazarus stones, which is the Udim and the Thudim. So you have the ephod here, which is like an apron, and you have the Udim and the Thudim. When you look at this 2 Samuel verse, 1 Samuel 23 and 1 Samuel 30, you can get a full picture. Now, let me see if I can get these slides to show so I can really make some noise. And then we can close out. Because that's pretty much the presentation, family, on. I'm going to remove this. That is the. Give me 1 second. Let me add this. remove this. We're going to add this, and then we're going to close this out. There we go. So as you can see, the nature of our people, we had a very complex religious system and structure. You had how ancient Israel works. You had the Levites that were the teachers. You would go to them and go to a Levite if you wanted to understand all the elements of the law. The elders and the princes of the congregation were judges. Some of them had understanding of the law, but you had to go with them. You had to go to them, and there had to be a Levite amongst them to make sure that they knew what they were talking about, because everyone didn't have a copy of the Torah. The Torah wasn't readily accessible. There were stretches of time where we didn't even have the Torah for us as a people. And then you had the army. You began that when you were 20 years old, and you served in the military once a month in a division of 24,000 or whatever the army would set out in your time frame, and it was on a 12-month rotation. And then you had our judging system was not according to the halakhic standard, which is 71 people, the Anachanesah Gadol or the Sanhedrin, where they go by majority vote to come up with halakha, or they have to come up with some type of consensus. Our system was based spiritually on a Udim and a Thudim and an Ephod. That's how we decided who was right and who was wrong in matters. So that's the history of our people. I'm going to close this out the same way we started off, because it's Yom Teruah. Peace and blessings to you, family. Shalom, shalom. Shalom, shalom, family. Hope you have a wonderful 9 days of all as you get ready for Yom Kippur and you begin to get your mind right and your hearts geared to serving the Creator. Thank you for joining us. Technical difficulties. Want to give all honor, praise, and glory to Yah Most High, the fountain of living waters, the maker, the owner, the creator, possessor of all things and everything. Hallelujah. Shalom, shalom, family.